Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name is Kyle. In this episode, it's Monday evening. We have a fun game tonight. We got the Kansas City Chiefs and the New York Giants. I'm trying to record a quick video here, though. It's not really a quick video, but we're going to be going over all the Week 8 snap counts. We'll take a peek at the box scores, and we'll give you guys the snap count numbers that you need to make better fantasy decisions going forward. So we're using Pro Football Reference. I'm going to hop right into Green Bay and Arizona. This was our Thursday night game. The Packers stole one on the road, 24-21. Let's take a peek at those snap numbers. And how I read these off here, I read them off by percentages, and I kind of just ignore linemen and quarterbacks unless there was some kind of injury or benching. But for the most part here, I'm just going to read flexes, wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends, just to figure out the pecking order of these guys here. So the Packers, Equanimeous St. Brown led the way with 92% of the snaps. Juwan Winfrey, wide receiver 2 on the day, 74% of the snaps. Randall Cobb was not the guy that everyone thought he was going to be. He was only 68% of the snaps. He did get the 2 touchdowns, which we'll get to in a second, but he was the clear number 3 receiver in terms of snap counts. And the only other receivers to get snaps, Amari Rodgers down here at 22%, Malik Taylor at 7%. So it looks like with Devontae Adams and Alan Lazard both out, as well as MVS, Equanimeous St. Brown looks to be that clear number 4 receiver in terms of snaps, and maybe Randall Cobb will kind of slide in that 4-5. Aaron Jones, 66% of the snaps. This is kind of where he's been all season. A.J. Dillon here at 40%. Unfortunately, there was an injury in this one to running back Kylan Hill, the 3rd-string running back. He didn't get any snaps on offense, but he is out for the season. I don't know if that's going to move the needle for Jones or Dillon, but a really good game for Aaron Jones, 66% of the snaps again, and A.J. Dillon did play 40%. Robert Tonyan, ACL injury is going to knock him out for the season. He had 48% of the snaps. Mercedes Lewis, 42% snaps. So he's going to probably be the biggest beneficiary of the Tonyan injury. And then Josiah DeGuara, actually, he might even have a more of an increase in his numbers. He was only on the field 22% of the snaps. Dominique Daphne down here at 19%. So look for these 2 guys, DeGuara and Daphne, to get more involved into the offense. I don't know if for fantasy we're going to care that much, but I'm waiting to see who gets the biggest spike in tight end numbers here. On the Cardinals side of things, A.J. Green led the way, 95% of the snaps. Christian Kirk, 78% of the snaps. Rondelle Moore was the wide receiver 3 on the day with 61% of the snaps. Antoine Wesley, 53%. And then DeAndre Hopkins, only 15 snaps. That's good for 25%. He had the hamstring injury. He had the big first play on one of I think it was their first or second drive of the game, and then he ended up pulling up. So only 25% of the snaps for Hopkins. That's why the other guys were increased. Zach Ertz dominated the tight end share, 73%. There's really no other tight end that we need to worry about in the lineup here. Chase Edmonds getting 59% of the snaps, and James Conner getting 37% of the snaps. Now let's go see what these mean for the box score. For the Cardinals here, Kyler Murray struggled in this one, 22 of 33, 274 yards, 2 interceptions, 2 sacks as well. He almost lost a fumble in this one as well, only 6 carries for 21 yards. So the Packers were able to get to Kyler Murray and frustrate him and kind of get him off the mark. Chase Edmonds led the way with carry, 7 for 30, and he gets a touchdown. 3 for 39 as a receiver. So he gets the touchdown. He's still running back 2 in PPR leagues. James Conner, though, he's kind of like a standard league cheat code right now. 5 attempts, 22 yards, 2 touchdowns. So it's very clear when they get near the red zone, James Conner's going to get called in and potentially punch one in from the goal line. Rondelle Moore had 2 attempts for 1 rushing yard. He also lost a fumble here. And then 3 for 24 as a receiver for Rondelle Moore. DeAndre Hopkins caught both of his targets for 66 yards. A.J. Green, with Hopkins, MIA for most of the game, A.J. Green goes and gets 8 targets. That's the team lead. 5 for 50. Christian Kirk, 6 targets, 4 for 46. And Zach Ertz, 4 for 42. Antoine Wesley, nothing really to talk about. On the Packers side, it was a pretty inefficient day for Aaron Rodgers. He struggled with his backup wide receivers, as you would expect. But 22 of 37, only 184 passing yards. He does get the 2 touchdowns, only sacked once. 3 yards on the ground here. A.J. Dillon actually had the more carries in this game, 16 for 78. He was a huge piece of keeping this offense on track. Aaron Jones, 15 for 59 and a touchdown. 11 targets for Aaron Jones in the passing game. He goes 7 for 51 as a receiver. So I like to see that involvement there. He does get the touchdown. He actually had another touchdown called back or reversed So if you have Aaron Jones, you should not be concerned about the A.J. Dillon eating into his carries role. If anything, they're just building a bigger role for A.J. Dillon, not at the expense of Aaron Jones, but they're just creating a bigger role for him outside of Aaron Jones's role. So Aaron Jones, he touched the ball 22 times. Usually he's a 15 to 20 touch guy. So be happy with Aaron Jones. Don't complain. Amari Rodgers, 1 carry, 11 yards, 1 reception, 7 yards. Robert Tonyan, before he got hurt, 3 for 49 as a receiver. Juwan Winfrey, 4 for 30. He had a couple drops in that one that might have made Aaron Rodgers a little upset. And potentially, big third down, conversions. Josiah DeGuarda, 2 for 20 as a receiver. Randall Cobb, only 3 for 15, but he does get the 2 touchdowns. And then Equanimeous St. Brown, 2 for 12. Mercedes Lewis had a nasty one-handed grab at the back of the end zone, but couldn't get the other foot down. Otherwise, he would have had a touchdown there. So that's going to do it. Packers move to 7-1. Cardinals fall to 7-1. We're going to move on to kind of a boring game here. Carolina and the Atlanta Falcons here. This one was in Atlanta. Panthers win 19-13, 4-4 record for the Panthers, 3-4 for the Falcons. And some big Calvin Ridley news. We'll get to that in a second. But for the Panthers, DJ Moore led the way, 82%. Robbie Anderson, 74%. Keith Kirkwood, 47%. Shi Smith, 32%. So Terrace Marshall Jr. still kind of hanging out, I think, with concussion symptoms, which is not great. So DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson were leaned on heavy here. The tight end situation, Ian Thomas, 62%. The next up, Tommy Tremble at 46%. Running backs, Chuba Hubbard, 55% of the snaps, and then they used Amir Abdullah, 30%. They had a fullback get some snaps, and then Royce Freeman ends up getting 15% of the snaps there. The Falcons, Kyle Pitts led the way, 83%. He's going to be the focal point of the offense. And on the other side of that coin, he's probably going to be the main focus of defenses as well. Russell Gage, 68% of the snaps. Tajay Sharp, 68% of the snaps. So with Calvin Ridley out, Russell Gage and Tajay Sharp are going to be interests on the waiver wire this week. Mike Davis actually out-snapping Cordero Patterson, 64% for him. Hayden Hurst, backup tight end, gets 62%. There's Cordero Patterson, 60%. We can forget about Olamide Zaccheaus. He's not even ahead of Tajay Sharp or Russell Gage on the depth chart right now. So this Falcons offense going forward, this is how it's going to look. It's going to be Pitts, Gage, Sharp, Davis, Cordero Patterson, and little sprinkles of Hayden Hurst every now and then. If we go look at the box score real quick, let's examine that. For the Falcons, only 6 players touched the ball on Sunday. Matt Ryan, 20 of 27, 146 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, sacked 3 times. And then he adds 3 yards on the ground. Mike Davis and Cordero Patterson both get 9 carries. Mike Davis goes 9 for 44. Cordero 9 for 35. But Mike Davis, after not getting a single target the week before, he gets 6 targets, 5 for 22 as a receiver. And then Cordero Patterson catches all 5 of his targets for 37 yards and a touchdown. So you're going to probably see some more attention on the combination of Darius and Cordero Patterson as the offense. Tajay Sharp, 6 targets, 5 for 58. Kyle Pitts, 6 targets, only 2 for 13. So I'm going to continue to roll with Pitts. It's a disappointing game, but we'll see how life after Ridley gets adapted here. Olamide Zaccheaus, 1 for 12, whatever. Hayden Hurst, 2 for 4. So no Russell Gage targets. For him to play 68% of the snaps and get no targets is a little bit of a head scratcher. But Tajay Sharp, I'm interested in Tajay Sharp or Russell Gage off the waiver wire if you can. For the Panthers, Sam Darnold didn't play a full game here, 13 of 24, 129 yards, 8 attempts, 66 yards. He's going to be in concussion protocol this week. So he didn't turn the ball over, which I guess is nice, but he didn't really inspire too much confidence for us for fantasy. Chuba Hubbard was the main guy today, 24 attempts, 82 yards, and 1 touchdown. 1 for 9 as a receiver. He did lose a fumble in this one, but again, he made the day with the touchdown. Amir Abdullah actually looked pretty good too. 8 carries, 31 yards. 5 targets, 3 for 35 as a receiver. With Christian McCaffrey likely back next week, we'll see what the running back load looks like here. If Chuba maybe has earned himself a small role, even with a healthy CMC, at least to get him back in action. As far as receivers, DJ Moore, 8 targets leading the way, 4 for 59 as a receiver. You'll take your DJ Moore floor game. Tommy Tremble, 3 for 18. Ian Thomas, 1 for 10. Robbie Anderson had 1 measly target in this game, no catches. We're going to just drop Robbie Anderson. I don't even want to hear anyone on with him on their bench. Keith Kirkwood, Shi Smith, just nothing really here. So as far as this Panthers offense goes for fantasy, it's Christian McCaffrey, it's DJ Moore. End of story. Stay out of it. Hold on to Chuba Hubbard, even if CMC returns. We've seen that play before. So Panthers 19-13. Ugly game here. Ugly outlook for the Panthers and the Falcons going forward too. In a more interesting game, I guess, Buffalo Bills beat the Miami Dolphins 26-11. Buffalo 5-2. Miami falls to 1-7. Take a peek at these snap counts here. For Miami, Mike Gesicki led the way, 97%. The next best tight end was Adam Shaheen, 59%, and Durham Smythe, 42%. So they use 3 tight ends a lot, but it's good to see Gesicki getting the lion's share there. Jalen Waddle led the way for receivers, 94% of the snaps. Devontae Parker he looked good back in action, 91% for him. And then really they just did a lot of 2 tight end stuff. They just kept Waddle and Parker on the field the majority of the game. And then Isaiah Ford, 12%, Matt Collins, 6%, Albert Wilson, 3%, just kind of an afterthought at that wide receiver 3 position, as Mike Gesicki is kind of operating as a big slot tight end. For running backs, we see Myles Gaskin get 58% of the snaps, Salvon Ahmed 23%, and Patrick Laird getting the call up here, 14% for him. I would have liked Salvon Ahmed to get some of those touches, but they use Laird there in return. But Gaskin, 58% of the snaps is good with no Malcolm Brown. On the Buffalo Bills side, Tommy Sweeney leading the way, 82% of the snaps, backing up for Dawson Knox. He caught 3 for 30, so 6 points maybe for PPR. He could have a nice game at Jacksonville next week. We'll be talking about him on the waiver wire for sure. Emmanuel Sanders leads the way for wideouts, 77%. Stephon Diggs, 75%. And then here we go. With Dawson Knox missing, we see Cole Beasley step up here, 71% of the snaps for him. Zach Moss gets 64%. Gabe Davis gets 44% as the 4th receiver. And then here's Devin Singletary at 34%. So Zach Moss gets 47 snaps to Devin Singletary's 25 snaps. So almost doubling up his total amount of snaps. That's something to think of going forward. If Zach Moss is available in your league or someone wants to trade him, try to acquire Zach Moss if you can. If he's going to be doubling up Singletary in touches and carries or snaps, I'm interested in having him going forward. And then let's go take a peek here at the box scores. So Josh Allen, 29 of 42, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers in this one. He also ran the ball 8 times for 55 yards and the touchdown, so he had a pretty good fantasy day by the end of it. Cole Beasley, 0 for 1 passing, but he had the team high, 13 targets, 10 receptions for 110 yards. So great day for Cole Beasley. And again, as long as Dawson Knox is out, Cole Beasley is going to be a huge part of this offense. Devin Singletary gets 7 carries for 28 yards, 1 catch for 1 yard. Zach Moss, more carries, 8 carries for 19 yards. Not as productive as Singletary, but in the passing game was where Zach Moss made his fantasy day. 7 targets, 6 for 39. Stephon Diggs, only 7 targets, but 5 for 40 and a touchdown. You'll take it. It's a 15-point PPR floor day for Diggs. Tommy Sweeney, the backup tight end, 4 targets, 3 for 30, 6 points PPR. And then Gabe Davis making an appearance here. 5 targets, 4 for 29, and the score. Emmanuel Sanders, I apologize if I told you to start Emmanuel Sanders. 4 targets, 0 receptions. Sometimes that just happens. Buffalo has a lot of moving parts on offense. For the Miami Dolphins, you see Tua Tagovailoa here, 21 of 39, 205 yards, 1 interception, and then he adds 10 yards and a rushing touchdown to the day. Myles Gaskin leads the way on carries, 12 for 36, also 3 for 19 as a rusher. So a frustrating day for sure, but you'll take the kind of 7-8 point floor there. Salvon Ahmed, 7 for 22 as a rusher, 1 catch for 6 yards as a receiver. But this was all about Devontae Parker, I think, in this one. 11 targets, 8 for 85. He's looking, again, like a really healthy wide receiver, too, for fantasy. Mike Gesicki goes 4 targets, 3 for 48. Jalen Waddle, this one was weird. 12 Jalen Waddle targets equals 4 receptions for 29 yards. So I love the targets. Hopefully the execution can be better in the future here. Patrick Laird, 1 for 10, whatever. Adam Shaheen, 1 for 8, whatever. Isaiah Ford, Matt Collins, didn't record a single catch. So tough matchup for the Dolphins offense here. Things are going to get a lot better going up against the Houston Texans next week. So hold on to your Dolphins. Go pick up Devontae Parker if he's available. And maybe Will Fuller. If Will Fuller's back, he should be ready for that one. So Miami, 11, Buffalo, 26. We'll move on to our next game here. The 49ers and the Chicago Bears. 49ers win 33-22. Let's take a look down here at the snap counts. Brandon Ayuk, interesting. Brandon Ayuk led the team in snaps as far as non-linemen and quarterbacks with 88%. Deebo Samuel, 82% of the snaps. The next best receiver was Mohamed Sanu, 45%. Really don't need to worry about anybody else. The tight ends, though, with George Kittle, probably George Kittle's last game away, as he can probably get back next week. Charlie Warner, 80% of the snaps. Next best tight end was Ross Dwelley, 27%. So Ross Dwelley is not even really the backup anymore. It's Charlie Warner. That's his job. For running backs, Elijah Mitchell gets 64%. The fullback Juszczyk gets 55%. JaMycal Hasty, 34%. So the 49ers are clearly just going to give Elijah Mitchell the starting role here. JaMycal Hasty was kind of a third down option for them in this one, as he's been the past few games. So it's Mitchell leading the team in carries, and Hasty probably going to be the pass-catching back. Trey Sermon's not even a thought right now, so I think we can comfortably drop him unless you want to hold on to the handcuff situation. For the Bears, Cole Kmet led the way, 90% of the snaps. Khalil Herbert just dominating, making Damian Williams an afterthought. You could probably just drop Damian Williams at this point, but Khalil Herbert gets 84% of the snaps. Allen Robinson, 80%. Darnell Mooney, 77%. So interesting is a decrease of wide receiver snaps here, more tight end, more running back snaps, not what we have been seeing. Jesse James, backup tight end, 54%, and then Marquise Goodwin, Damiere Byrd were the next best receivers here. But let's go take a peek at this box score because this one's got some fantasy numbers in it. Justin Fields, probably his best game as a pro, 19 for 27, 175 and 1 touchdown. He did throw an interception and was sacked 4 times. But he added 10 carries for 103 yards and 1 score. Khalil Herbert, 23 attempts, 72 yards. Not the best yards per carry, but you take the volume when you can get it. 2 receptions for -4 yards as a receiver. Darnell Mooney led the way in targets. Goes with 9 targets. He goes 6 for 64. Jesse James, backup tight end, goes 3 for 38 and the 1 touchdown there. Marquise Goodwin, 3 for 32. Cole Kmet, 3 for 24. Allen Robinson, 3 for 21. I'm super frustrated with the Bears offense. I think at this point, it really depends on when David Montgomery is going to get back on the field. But for now, Fields is a super flex quarterback too, and Khalil Herbert maybe a running back too right now until David Montgomery returns. For the 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo blew up in this one. 17 of 28, 322 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions, wasn't sacked all day, but he adds 4 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Elijah Mitchell gets 18 carries for $137 and the score here. He's not targeted in the passing game at all. JaMycal Hasty, 3 attempts for 4 yards, and he catches both of his targets for 29 yards. This one was all about Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel gets 9 targets, 6 catches for 171 yards. There's Brandon Ayuk with 7 targets, 4 for 45. So a good, foundation for him to build off of. If Brandon Ayuk goes out and has another, 9 to 10 PPR point day, we can maybe begin to trust him, especially since he led the team in snaps for receivers. Mohamed Sanu, 3 for 59, whatever. Juszczyk, 1 for 11. Just not much else here. So with George Kittle likely back, what do we think of the 49ers offense? Garoppolo's a QB2 for Superflex leagues. I think Elijah Mitchell's a running back, a strong running back 2 right now. Deebo Samuel's a top 5 receiver every week. And then Brandon Ayuk, holding out hope for him as a flex bench play right now. And then George Kittle, we'll see what happens when he gets back. But we're going to have to limit our expectations when Kittle comes back. I don't know if he's going to be a top 5 tight end every week. But 49ers move to 3 and 4. Chicago Bears fall to 3 and 5. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. Steelers improve to 4 and 3. Browns fall to 4 and 4 as Pittsburgh takes this one 15-10. Let's go take a peek at the snap counts. For the Steelers here, we see Chase Claypool, 97% of the snaps. Deontay Johnson, 92%, the next best receiver. James Washington at 46%. Don't know if that means anything. Najee Harris dominated the running back snaps with 84%. The next man up was Anthony McFarland Jr. Interesting here with 9%. And then with Eric Ebron out in this one, you see Pat Freiermuth, 78% of the snaps. Backup tight end Zach Gentry gets 61%. On the Brown side here, Jarvis Landry leading the way with 90% of the snaps. Odell Beckham, 73%. The next best wideout was Rashard Higgins at 56%. As far as the tight end game goes, David Njoku and Austin Hooper both ran 64% of the routes. So this is a heavy 2 tight end offense. Harrison Bryant, the clear number 3 here at 39%. And then for running backs, you see Nick Chubb get 56% of the snaps. Dearness Johnson gets 31%. Demetric Felton gets 15%. So let's take a peek here at the box score. We'll start with the Browns in this one. Baker Mayfield, 20 of 31, 225 yards. He was sacked 4 times, only added 5 yards on the ground. So pretty pedestrian day for him, no touchdowns. Nick Chubb, only 16 for 61, 1 catch for 8 yards. That's kind of a floor game for him. You'll take your 8 points, I suppose, no touchdowns. Dearness Johnson gets the touchdown, though. 4 for 22 in the score, 1 catch for 7 yards as a receiver. Really good day for Jarvis Landry. 1 attempt for 5 yards on the ground. Team high 10 targets, 5 for 65 as a receiver. He did lose a fumble in this one, but he's going to be the main receiving threat in this team. And I think he's a wide receiver 3 in PPR leagues going forward. Njoku goes 3 for 39. Harrison Bryant, 2 for 33. Rashard Higgins goes 2 for 27. Austin Hooper goes 4 for 26. Kind of just nothing else. Odell Beckham, 1 catch for 6 yards on 1 target. Like Odell, we're kind of done with Odell. Hopefully he can get traded before tomorrow. But for the Browns, Chubb, Dearness Johnson, Jarvis Landry, those are really the only mainstays for now. On the Pittsburgh side of things, Ben Roethlisberger, 22 of 34, 266 yards and a touchdown. He was sacked twice, only the 1 touchdown there. Najee Harris, 26 of 91. Rushing and 1 touchdown there, 3 receptions for 29 yards. Solid day from Najee Harris. He's a top 5 back. I don't know really what else I have to say about Najee Harris. Chase Claypool, 2 for 16 as a rusher, 4 for 45 as a receiver. There's Ray McLeod, 1 attempt for 10 yards rushing. Anthony McFarland, only 1 attempt for 1 yard. Deontay Johnson continues to lead the team in targets, 13 targets, 6 for 98 as a receiver. Pat Freiermuth, the number 2 target today, 7 targets, 4 for 44 and a touchdown. Potentially being a tight end 1 streamer down the way. He's actually been playing really good his last 3 or 4 games. And then really nothing else to note here. Zach Gentry actually, 5 targets, 3 for 39. So total of 12 targets to the tight ends in this one. Benny Snell, 1 for 7, whatever. James Washington, 1 for 4. Continue to use Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, Najee Harris, and then Ben Roethlisberger. Even in Superflex, I don't know if I love it, but the Steelers take this one 15-10, move to 4-3. Here we have a fun game. The Colts and the Titans. This one was 31-34. The Titans take it in overtime. They move to 6-2. Let's take a peek at the snap counts on this one. Of course, the big news sweeping the day. Derrick Henry out for 6 to 10 weeks with a broken toe in his foot. A.J. Brown led the way in snaps on the day, 92% of the snaps. The next best receiver, Marcus Johnson, 66% of the snaps, whatever. Chester Rogers, 42% of the snaps, whatever. Nick Westbrook, Akina, 32%. It's really A.J. Brown or bust for the passing game. Jeff Swaim, interesting guy here, 78% of the snaps for him as the lead tight end. Michael Pruitt, 48% of the snaps. And then Anthony Firkser, I don't get it. He's not being used at all. 27% of the snaps as the tight end here. For running back, Derrick Henry plays 74% of the snaps. The next man up was Jeremy Mcnichols at 23%. So only 2 running backs saw snaps. Mcnichols might be the first guy to potentially get the touches there. With Derrick Henry out, I'll also throw in Darrington Evans returning soon. On the Colts side, Michael Pittman Jr., guys, he is here. 96% of the snaps for him to lead the way at wideout. Zach Pascoe comes in at 94% of the snaps. T.Y. Hilton, 44%. Ashton Doolin, 36%. They only ran 4 receivers on Sunday. The running backs. Jonathan Taylor gets 74% of the snaps. Nyheim Hines gets 31% of the snaps. So they're trying to find ways to get Nyheim Hines and JT on the field together, which I think is a pretty good move. As far as tight ends go, Jack Doyle, 62%. Mo Cox, 49%. Kylan Granson down here at 12%. Let's go take a peek at these box scores. On the Colts side, Carson Wentz, 27 of 51, 231 yards, and he throws for 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He also adds 11 yards as a rusher, so a nice high-volume day for him. That's not going to be something that we can expect. 51 passes is a lot, but it's good to see the 3 touchdowns get in there. Jonathan Taylor, 16 carries, 70 yards, and a score. 3 for 52 as a receiver, so JT continues to be a top 5 back. Nyheim Hines, 5 targets, 4 for 22 as a receiver. Michael Pittman Jr., though, is the real deal. 15 targets. Clearly Carson Wentz's favorite wide receiver to target. 10 receptions, 86 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I think he's a top 5 or top 10 fantasy receiver option right now. Zach Pascal, kind of the clear number 2 in this offense. 8 targets, 5 for 43 as a receiver. T.Y. Hilton, 5 targets, but only 2 for 16. Jack Doyle, 2 targets, 2 catches, 12 yards, and a score. Mo Cox gets a goose egg, 4 targets, no catches. Ashton Doolin, 4 targets, no catches. And Kylan Granson down here with 1 target, 1 reception for 0 yards. On the Tennessee side of things, pretty efficient day for Ryan Tannehill, 23 of 33, 265 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times, but he added 26 yards as a rusher. They let A.J. Brown just try to throw a pass in this game. He was 0 of 1, but A.J. Brown was the offense on the day. 11 targets, 10 receptions, 155 yards, and 1 score. He's back to a top 5, top 10 receiver every week, so I hope you're able to buy low on the A.J. Brown. Derrick Henry goes 28 carries for only 68 yards. They really bottled him up. I don't know at what point of the game his foot was injured, but clearly a really tough day for Derrick Henry. No catches for Henry either. Jeremy Mcnichols goes no carries, but 3 catches for 33 yards as a receiver. Jeff Swaim, 5 targets, 4 for 23 and a score. Michael Pruitt, 2 for 22. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, 2 for 16 and a touchdown. And then just nothing doing for Marcus Johnson, Ferkser, Chester Rogers. Even Logan Woodside got a rushing attempt in this one. So interesting game. The Titans sitting at 6-2. They have a 2.5, 3-game lead over the Colts right now on the division. We'll see if that can be enough to keep them in the playoff hunt. And again, maybe Derrick Henry returns more so in that 6 to 7, 8-week timetable than the 6 to 10. So we'll see. Interesting game though. Titans 34, Colts 31. Moving on to the football team and the Denver Broncos. Just an ugly game overall. Broncos win this 17-10. They move to 4-4. Washington falls to 2-6. Let's look at the snap counts here. On the football team side, Ricky Seals-Jones plays 100% of the snaps. Terry McLaurin leads the way for wideouts, 87%. DeAndre Carter, 70%. Adam Humphries here at 63%. The next best receiver was Dax Milne, 30%. For backup tight end, John Bates here at 21%, but it was all Ricky Seals-Jones. The running backs, J.D. McKissic gets 46% of the snaps. Antonio Gibson, season low, 33% of the snaps as he yielded work to Jarrett Patterson, who had 23% of the snaps. So the football team's on bye for week 9 here. I don't know if this was a move to just make sure Gibson stays healthy with less work. Interesting move here, but they decided to use 3 running backs in this one in rotation. For the Broncos, Tim Patrick dominates the receiver snaps here, 94% of the snaps for him. Cortland Sutton gets 87%. Jerry Jeudy in his return gets 72% of the snaps here. Only Kendall Hinton got 4% there as the 4th receiver. So it's clear it's Patrick, Sutton, and Jerry Jeudy. Noah Fant got the tight end snaps here at 77%. But Albert Okwuegbunam was back. He saw 49% of the snaps. If anything happens to Noah Fant, Albert O is going to be the tight end to pick up. For running backs, Melvin Gordon continues to win this battle. 57% of the snaps to Javonte Williams is 43%. So if we look at the numbers real quick, Teddy Bridgewater, 19 of 26, 213 yards and 1 score. He was sacked 4 times. A pretty, lackluster day against this Washington defense where everybody's been hitting as a quarterback. Melvin Gordon, 10 for 47 and a rushing touchdown. He also caught all 3 of his receptions for 15 yards and a touchdown. So 2 TDs on the day. He did lose a pretty costly fumble in that 4th quarter, though. Almost blew the game. Javonte Williams, only 9 for 35 as a rusher, 2 for 13 as a receiver. Tim Patrick, 3 targets, 3 for 64. Cortland Sutton, 4 targets, 2 for 40. Jerry Jeudy catches all 4 of his targets for 39 yards. And then Albert Okwuegbunam here, 3 for 34 as the main tight end in this one. And Noah Fant, 4 targets, 2 for 8. So everything was just spread out too thin, too many names, too many receivers to hit here. So I'm a little bit nervous about this passing pie going forward. But the Broncos will head to Dallas this week for week 9. On the football team side, real quick, Taylor Heineke, 24 of 39, 270 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and he adds only 10 yards as a rusher. Jarrett Patterson was the leading rusher on the day, 11 carries for 46 yards. He had 1 target, no catches. Antonio Gibson goes 8 carries for 34 yards, catches all 3 of his targets for 20 yards. So it's a decent 8-point floor game for Gibson here. Terry McLaurin, 1 carry for 12 yards. 7 targets, only 3 for 23 as a receiver here. So it was a bad Terry game. J.D. McKissic, 3 for 10 as a rusher. 8 targets. He was the leading target man on the day. 8 targets, 8 catches for 83 yards. So for PPR purposes, you're happy. DeAndre Carter, 6 targets, 3 for 51, and a touchdown here. Adam Humphries, 2 for 35. Dax Milne, 1 for 22. Cam Sims, 1 for 20. Ricky Seals-Jones, though, 4 targets, only 2 for 12. That was kind of a bust there. Maybe by the time they're off their bye, Logan Thomas is ready to go. So pretty frustrating game here. I thought this would be a little bit more exciting with the Washington football defense just giving up a lot of yards and points to the team's receiving game here. But they hold them 17-10. Broncos get the win at home. Moving on to the Eagles and the Detroit Lions. Lions fall to 0-8. Eagles win 44-6 in this one. So much needed win for the Eagles. Dramatic fashion here. The Eagles, Jalen Hurts didn't play the full game. Gardner Minshew got 22% of the snaps. So I really don't know how much the snap count matters for this game, even on both sides. But Quez Watkins leads the way. 89% of the snaps as a wide receiver. Devonta Smith gets 68%. Greg Ward, the wide receiver 3, gets 49%. And Jalen Reagor only 18% as the wide receiver 4. For quarterbacks, again, Jalen Hurts played 78% of the snaps. Gardner Minshew got 22. But the running backs, everyone thought it was going to be a Kenneth Gainwell week. Well, guess again, it was Boston Scott with 45% as the lead back. Kenneth Gainwell gets 31%. And then Jordan Howard ends up getting 25% of the snaps. As far as tight ends go, Dallas Goedert gets 68% of the snaps, and then the new backup tight end, Jack Stoll, 65% for him. On the Lions side, Jared Goff played 94% of the game. Khalif Raymond, the lead receiver, at 79%. Amon-Ra St. Brown played 73%, as well as Trinity Benson, 73%. Those are the top 3 receivers in the game here. TJ Hawkinson, 76% as the lead tight end. And then the running backs, DeAndre Swift gets 71% of the snaps. Godwin, Igwebuike, 18% here. And then rookie Jamar Jefferson gets 18%. So no Jamal Williams in this one. That just meant a little more DeAndre Swift. But let's just take a quick peek at these numbers here. Really ugly game from the Lions. Jared Goff goes 25 of 34, 222 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions, sacked 5 times. David Blau got, some run in this game at the end of the fourth quarter. DeAndre Swift, pretty, lackluster game here. 12 attempts for 27 yards. Catches all 5 of his targets for 24 yards, but he also loses a fumble. Godwin Igwebuike, 3 for 18 as a rusher, 3 for 40 as a receiver. And then you get Jamar Jefferson coming in, the rookie here, getting 2 attempts for 6 yards and the only rushing touchdown on the day here. 4 receptions, 23 yards as a receiver. TJ Hawkinson, great floor game here. 11 targets, 10 for 89 as a receiving weapon. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, the only receiver to catch a ball all day was Amon-Ra St. Brown, 3 for 46. So no Khalif Raymond today, no Kadarius Hodge, not much of anything else here. On the Eagles side, Jalen Hurts, man, only 9 of 14, 103 yards passing, but he did add 71 yards as a rusher, no touchdowns. Gardner Minshew got in 2 for 2 as a passer, 11 yards. But Boston Scott, man, 12 carries, 60 yards, and 2 touchdowns, 1 target, no receptions. Jordan Howard, 12 carries, 57 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So really similar days for Scott and Howard. Kenneth Gainwell was the odd man out. He led the team in carries, so we'll give him that. 13 carries, but a meager 27 yards, no targets. That was kind of interesting. Only 1 target between all the running backs here for Philly. Jalen Reagor, 2 for 21 as a rusher. Nothing as a receiver. Dallas Goedert, 6 for 72. You'll take that floor game on 7 targets. Quez Watkins, 2 for 18. Devonta Smith, 1 for 15. Jack Stoll, 1 for 9 here. So I'm super concerned about the passing weapons in this game, not named Dallas Goedert. Even if you have Devonta Smith, I think you should be a little nervous to start him. But it's frustrating. They go 44-6 here on the road against the Lions and nothing to be had in the passing game besides Dallas Goedert. So we'll move on to the Rams and the Texans. We'll be really quick on this one. I don't even really want to read the Texans, but Davis Mills got the start. Maybe Tyrod Taylor next week against Miami, but Brandon Cooks, 89% of the snaps. Danny Amendola, 64%. Nico Collins, 64%. Tight end was interesting this week. Jordan Akins led the way at 64%. Anthony Auclair, 25%. But Brevin Jordan, 25%. We'll look at him in a second. Running backs, Rex Burkhead was the RB1 on the day, 49% of the snaps. Scotty Phillips gets 25% of the snaps. David Johnson, only 18%. And Philip Lindsay, 13% of the snaps. So they remove Mark Ingram from the team, and David Johnson's now the RB3, and Philip Lindsay's now the RB4. So I really don't know what to think of that. For the Rams side, Cooper Kupp, 87% of the snaps. You got Robert Woods, 87% of the snaps. You got Van Jefferson playing really well in his second year, 84% of the snaps from him. And then with no Deshaun Jackson, you see Ben Skowronek, 30% of the snaps here. Tight end, Tyler Higbee, still a tight end one, 69%. Running back snaps, though. Darrell Henderson records 61% of the snaps. Sony Michel, 30% of the snaps. The box score says Matthew Stafford, 21 of 32, 305 yards and 3 touchdowns. Wasn't sacked once all game. No rushing stats to prove here. Darrell Henderson leads the way with 14 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown. He also caught a 3-yard touchdown early in the game there too. So 2 TDs for Darrell Henderson. Sony Michel looked good in this one, 9 for 42 as a rusher, 2 for 14 as a receiver. Robert Woods, it was kind of a really low volume day for him. He does get 3 carries for 22 yards and a touchdown, which is great. But 9 targets, super nice high number, but only 3 for 35 as a receiver. But again, he does get the touchdown. So it's 2 TDs for Robert Woods, 2 TDs for Darrell Henderson. And then you get to Cooper Kupp, probably the fantasy MVP so far. 9 targets, 7 for 115, and another touchdown here. Just unbelievable. Van Jefferson, 6 targets, 3 for 88 as a receiver. No thank you, Ben Skowronek. And then Tyler Higbee, kind of the odd man out right now, 3 for 25 as the tight end. He's hard to trust at the moment here. And then real quick, I mean, Texans, Davis Mills, this might be the last time we see him for a bit. Played well, 29 of 38, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and 5 sacks. Rex Burkhead, 4 for 21 and a touchdown, 3 for 27 as a receiver. I don't want to touch any Houston running back at all. It's a mess. Brandon Cooks, 6 for 83 and a touchdown, so continuing to play good. Guys to monitor, though. Nico Collins, 4 for 55 as a receiver. Rookie from Michigan there. Jordan Akins, 5 for 53 as a 10 PPR point day for the tight end there. And then rookie Brevin Jordan, 4 targets, 3 for 41 and a touchdown. We'll see if he gets more work going forward. But try to stay away from the Texans if you can. Dallas and the Minnesota Vikings. This was the Sunday night game. Dallas wins 20-16. They moved to 6-1. Vikings 3-4. No Dak Prescott, so we'll see what Cooper Rush can do. 89% for CeeDee Lamb. Amari Cooper gets 86% of the snaps. Cedric Wilson played 58% of the snaps. Noah Brown 18%. We'll see Michael Gallup come back next week and probably flirt with 60 to 70% of the snaps at some point. Dalton Schultz, 82% of the snaps. Blake Jarwin only 44% of the snaps. In terms of running backs, Ezekiel Elliott gets 75%. Tony Pollard only 26%. On the Vikings side, Adam Thielen, 98% of the snaps. Tyler Conklin here gets 82% of the snaps. I don't know what was up with Justin Jefferson. He only played 71%. Same as Dalvin Cook, which is a high number for him anyways. 71% of the snaps for Cook. 58% of the snaps for KJ Osborne. Nothing else in this offense matters except for Alexander Mattison, 12%. But again, purely just a handcuff play on Dalvin Cook. As far as the numbers go, Cooper Rush looked competent, 24-40, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was sacked 3 times, and he did lose a fumble, so we don't like the turnovers, but he did put up and move the offense quite well. Cedric Wilson, 35-yard pass. He also had 3 targets, 3 catches, 84 yards, and a huge touchdown in this one, 73-yard touchdown score. Ezekiel Elliott goes 16 for 50 as a rusher. 6 targets, 4 for 23 as a receiver. Tony Pollard, only 7 for 26 on the ground, 1 catch for a yard as a receiver here. Amari Cooper was the favorite target for Cooper Rush. 13 targets, 8 receptions, 122 yards, and a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb also had a really productive day. 8 targets, 6 for 112 yards. Dalton Schultz, bad day, 7 targets, 2 for 11. Noah Brown, 1 for 7, whatever. Blake Jarwin, 1 target, no receptions. On the Vikings side, Kirk Cousins goes 23 of 35, 184 yards and a touchdown. He was sacked once, 18 yards as a rusher here, so pretty bad game from Kirk Cousins. Justin Jefferson, really quiet game here. He was 0 for 1 on pass attempts, but 4 targets, 2 receptions, 21 yards. Is kind of a non-factor in this game. Dalvin Cook goes 18 attempts for 78 yards. 2 targets, no receptions for Cook, so it's a floor game here. Alexander Mattison, 2 for 5 as a rusher, 2 for -5 as a receiver. Adam Thielen led the way, 9 targets, 6 for 78 and a score. Tyler Conklin actually looked really good in this one, 7 targets, 5 for 57. So if you need a tight end, Tyler Conklin should be on your list. KJ Osborne, 2 for 10, whatever. Chris Herndon, Luke Stocker, Amir Smith-Marset, CJ Ham, just nothing for fantasy here. So kind of a boring game here without the Dak Prescott. That might have opened things up a little bit for both sides of the ball. But nonetheless, Cowboys 20, Vikings 16. Now we're getting to some more of the interesting games of the day here. Saints, Tampa Bay. Saints move to 5-2. Buccaneers fall to 6-2 as they win, as the Saints win 36-27. Got some big news in this one. The Saints, we'll start with them. Jameis Winston's done for the year. Trevor Siemian's going to be the guy. So he played 74% of the snaps in this one. So for fantasy players, Adam Troutman led the way, 87% of the snaps. Marquez Callaway, best receiver, 78% of the snaps. Next best receiver, Traquan Smith at 63% of the snaps. Ty Montgomery, 43%. Deontay Harris, 32%. Kind of just nothing to trust for us. Running backs, Alvin Kamara, 67%. You love that. Mark Ingram, first game with the team, 29%. He might actually be a flex bench player that you can hold on to in your lineups, as this team's probably going to be super run heavy going forward here. And again, Jameis Winston out for the year. Taysom Hill's been MIA the last few weeks, so this is Trevor Siemian's team for now. Tom Brady on the Buccaneers side here, leading player on the Bucs. Chris Godwin, 97% of the snaps. Mike Evans gets 95%. Tyler Johnson filling right in for Antonio Brown. He gets 64%. Cameron Brate led the way at tight ends as Rob Gronkowski, 6 snaps for Gronk, and he ends up with back spasms here. So not a great outing for him. We'll see if he can be on track to play in the coming weeks. But anyways, Cameron Brate, 61%. Leonard Fournette, 61% of the snaps. O.J. Howard, backup tight end, gets 46%. There's Gio Bernard with 21%. Jalen Darden got some run, and Ronald Jones, an afterthought here at 15%. So let's look at the box score. What went wrong for the Buccaneers? Tom Brady, 28 of 40, 375 yards, 4 touchdowns. But he threw 2 interceptions and had an interception, so turnovers were the difference in this one. Leonard Fournette gets 8 carries for 26 yards, 5 targets, 3 for 17 as a receiver. Gio Bernard, 2 for 30 as a rusher. 1 catch, 7 yards, and a touchdown as the pass catching back. Ronald Jones, 3 for 13 as a rusher, 1 for 6 as a receiving weapon. This one was all about Chris Godwin. 12 targets, 8 for 140, and a touchdown here. Tyler Johnson goes technically the second leading receiver on the day. Tyler Johnson, 6 targets, 5 for 65 as a receiver. Cyril Grayson, 1 for 50 and a touchdown. Mike Evans, only 4 targets on the day, but 2 for 48, and he gets the touchdown there. O.J. Howard, 2 for 16, whatever. Cameron Brate, 2 for 15, whatever. Jalen Darden kind of making a few plays here as a receiving weapon. And again, no Gronk in this one. 1 target, no catches. On the Saints side, instead of Jameis Winston, Trevor Siemian comes in, goes 16 of 29, throws for 159 yards and a touchdown. He was sacked once, added 2 yards on the ground here. Alvin Kamara, 19 of 61 and a touchdown, 3 for 15 as a receiver. So not a huge rushing day for him, or receiving day for him, but he does get the rushing touchdown. Mark Ingram comes in and gets 6 carries for 27 yards, 2 for 25 as a receiver. So roughly, 8 to 9 points in PPR formats here. Deontay Harris had a 22-yard carry, 3 for 35 as a receiver here. He actually had 7 targets, which led the team too. So something to keep an eye on there. Kevin White made a 38-yard catch in this one. Traquan Smith, 3 for 33 and a touchdown. Garrett Griffin was the leading tight end on the day, 3 for 30. And then you see Marquez Callaway, 3 for 30 as a receiver. And then just nothing else from Montgomery, Troutman, Arma, or Jawan Johnson. So state of the New Orleans Saints offense going forward. It's going to continue to be Alvin Kamara. It's gonna be bits and pieces of Mark Ingram, and then the receivers are just kind of playing whack-a-mole. Traquan Smith, Marquez Callaway. We'll see when Michael Thomas comes back. So huge win for the Saints, though. We'll move on to the Cincinnati Bengals and the New York Jets. And I'm going to kind of just speed things up here. I got maybe 3 more games to cover. We'll just kind of go rapid fire here. On the Bengals side, Jamar Chase leads the way, 95%. Next best receiver, Tyler Boyd, 80%. T. Higgins, 77%. The running backs, Joe Mixon gets 77% of the snaps. And then you get Samaje Perine at 25% as the backup. Tight ends, CJ Uzomah, 86% of the snaps. Drew Sample, 36% of the snaps. On the Jets side, Mike White, 94% of the snaps as the QB. Michael Carter dominated the running back snaps, 70% for him. Next best running back was Ty Johnson, 29% of the snaps there. At wideout, Denzel Mims led the way in snaps, 70 total percent. Keelan Cole, 65%. Jamison Crowder, 61%. And Elijah Moore down here at 36%. Braxton Berrios, 24%, whatever. Tight ends, not really a factor. Tyler Kroft, 61%. Ryan Griffin, 49%. But the box score was banging for the Jets. Mike White, 37 of 45, 405 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Just a massive day for Mike White. Not really a sexy day. He dumped it off a lot to Michael Carter, who had 15 carries, 77 yards, and a touchdown. He had 14 targets on the day, 9 for 95 as a receiver. And then his backup, Michael Carter's backup, Ty Johnson, he goes and gets 4 carries for 15 yards. And he had 6 targets himself for 5 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown. So 20 running back targets between the two guys. Just a massive dink and dunk day here. Elijah Moore catches all 6 of his targets for 67 yards. That was a nice game by him. Jamison Crowder, 9 targets, 8 for 84. He did lose a fumble, but looks like Mike White's comfortable with Crowder, Elijah Moore, and the running backs. Denzel Mims, 3 targets, 2 for 30. Keelan Cole, not much doing. Tyler Kroft caught a touchdown. Braxton Berrios caught a touchdown. But interesting, Mike White just dinking and dunking on him. Joe Burrow, 21 of 34, 259 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Tyler Boyd had a 46-yard pass completion to Joe Mixon. And then Joe Mixon, 14 carries, only 33 yards, but he does get the rushing touchdown. 4 for 58 as a receiver and another touchdown. So 2 TDs for Joe Mixon. Tyler Boyd, 8 targets, 5 for 69 and a touchdown, looking better in this one. Jamar Chase, kind of a disappointing game from Jamar Chase. He did have 8 targets, but only 3 for 32 as a receiver. He did catch a touchdown to salvage the day, but kind of disappointing day from Jamar Chase. T. Higgins looked good in this one, 6 targets, 4 for 97, getting him more vertical involved there. CJ Uzomah, 4 targets, 4 for 33 as a tight end, whatever. For PPR, you're fine. And then Samaje Perine, 2 for 16. But the Jets, dink and dunk all over the Cincinnati Bengals here and win 34-31. We'll move on to the New England Patriots and the LA Chargers. Patriots win 27-24. Patriots move to 4-4. Chargers fall to 4-3. Let's go look at the snap counts in this one. On the Patriots side, Jacoby Myers leads the way, 92%. Nelson Aguilar, 79%. N'Keal Harry getting in here as the number 3 receiver, 35% of the snaps for him. The tight ends, it was Hunter Henry with 65%, Jonnu Smith, 64%. But the running backs, kind of all over the place. Damian Harris led the way, 53%. Brandon Bolden, 32%. Ramondre Stevenson, 16%. And then on the Chargers side of things, Keenan Allen led the way, 98% of the snaps. Mike Williams, 90% of the snaps for receiver, the next best receiver. Jalen Guyton at 58%. And then Josh Palmer, the only 4th receiver to play, was at 13%. Austin Eckler dominated the running back snaps and touches, 75% of the snaps for him. Larry Roundtree, 13%. And Justin Jackson down here at 12%. And then the tight ends. 3 tight ends being used in this one. Jared Cook gets 55%. Donald Parham, 42%. And Trey McKitty gets 18% of the snaps. For the box score real quick, rough day for Herbert, 18 of 35, 223 passing yards, 2 touchdowns and 2 INTs. He was sacked 3 times. Justin Jackson, 3 for 79 as the leading rusher on the day, but it was Austin Eckler, 11 attempts, 64 yards and a touchdown, who also had 10 targets, 6 catches for 60 yards as a receiver. So nice day for Austin Eckler. Larry Roundtree, 4 for 11 as a rusher. But this one was all about Keenan Allen. and I guess Eckler too. But 11 targets for Keenan, 6 for 77 and a touchdown. Jared Cook, 5 targets, 2 for 25. Josh Palmer, 1 target, 1 catch, 24 yards and a touchdown. Rough day for Mike Williams as Belichick kind of took him away. 5 targets, 2 for 19 as a receiver, and Jalen Guyton, 1 for 18. On the Patriots side of things, weird. But Mac Jones, just like Herbert, he was 18 of 35, 218 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions, but he was sacked once, 10 yards rushing for Mac. Damian Harris looked good, though. 23 attempts, 80 yards, and a touchdown. Brandon Bolden, 4 for 26 as a rusher. Ramondre Stevenson, 8 for 25 as a rusher. He also added a catch and 5 yards. We'll start with Jacoby Myers. Myers, 9 targets to lead the way, only 4 for 37 as a receiver. Kendrick Bourne was the next man up, 7 targets, 4 for 38. He also lost a fumble in that one. Nelson Aguilar, 6 targets, 3 for 60, so he kind of remains that vertical threat. Hunter Henry in his revenge game, 3 targets, only 1 for 33. N'Keal Harry playing better, 2 for 30. Jonnu Smith, 2 for 13, and Jacob Johnson, 1 for 2. So kind of a rough offensive game on both sides here, but the Chargers were able to hold on to the ball a little bit more and get more rushing attempts. So the Patriots were able to run the ball a little bit more efficiently. So good game, though, and this one as it came down to the final end, but the Patriots, again, were just too much in the fourth quarter. So Patriots 27, Chargers 24. And then the last game that I'll cover before the Kansas City Chiefs and the New York Giants. Real quick, Seattle Seahawks, Jacksonville Jaguars. Seattle wins 31-7. They move to 3-5. Jaguars fall to 1-6 after the bye week. Snap counts real quick on the Jags side. Trevor Lawrence plays the full game. Marvin Jones, 91%. Jamal Agnew, the clear number 2 receiver, I believe, 72% of the snaps. Laviska down here at 68%. Tavon Austin, 37%. Dan Arnold's the clear lead tight end at 72% of the snaps. And then with the James Robinson injury, he only played 8 snaps in this one, 11%. Carlos Hyde took over as the lead back, 66% of the snaps. Dare Ogunbowale got 20%. On the Seahawks side of things, Geno Smith played really well, 100% of the snaps. But Lockett, 77%, DK Metcalf, 72%, and Freddie Swain, 65%. Those are the clear top 3 receiving weapons. Gerald Everett finally took over the Will Dissly snap percentages here. Everett wins 77% to 63% to Dissly. The running backs, kind of just a huge mess. They use 4 of them. Collins gets 47% of the snaps. Travis Homer gets 30%. Rashad Penny gets 19%. And DJ Dallas gets 4%. For the box score real quick, Geno Smith, man, 20 of 24, $195 passing, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked 3 times, but he adds 8 yards and a rushing score. Alex Collins only 10 for 44 on the ground. Travis Homer, 4 carries, 9 yards, but he adds a 3-yard catch. Rashad Penny, 7 carries for 7 yards, no receptions. And DJ Dallas, only 1 attempt for 6 yards. Just really nothing happening out of the running backs in this one. It was all Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Lockett, 13 targets, 12 catches, 142 yards. So it looks like he's back in the groove with Geno. And then DK Metcalf catches all 6 of his targets for 43 yards and 2 scores. Gerald Everett, a -5-yard rush, 2 targets, 1 for 7 here. So we'll see. Russell Wilson is going to be back for week 10 as the Seahawks are on bye for week 9. Real quick with the Jags, Trevor Lawrence, 32 of 54, 238 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 11 yards on the ground. Carlos Hyde, 9 attempts, 32 yards as a rusher, 6 for 40 as a receiver, so that's a quick 10 points. J-Rob, before he went down, 4 for 22 as a rusher, 1 for 17 through the air. There's Dare Ogunbowale getting some carries. Laviska Shenault, 1 for 8. He only had 4 targets, 2 for 13 as a receiver. But Dan Arnold looking like a potential tight end 1 right now. 10 targets, 8 for 68 through the air. Jamal Agnew actually led the team in targets on the day. 12 targets, 6 for 38, and the only touchdown on the day. Marvin Jones, 7 targets, 5 for 35. It's a floor game. Tyron Johnson, Tavon Austin, Luke Farrell. Not much happening there. So still a lot to learn here, but I hope you guys found this video useful. Share it with people, friends, if anyone cares about snap counts and some of the box score stuff. But I just want to thank you for making it to the end. If you guys got to the end, leave me a comment in the description or in the comment box below. Let me know that you made it. I appreciate this is one of the most important videos I put out because we're looking at all the past history here that we can use to make decisions with. So if you liked it, let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for your time. Have a good rest of your night. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.